Today's sponsor of the Vision Quest podcast is 920 Hat Company. Leather patch hats are in, and 920 Hat Company is here to hook you up with your very own custom hat. All patches are lasered on top-grade genuine leather and on popular brand hats like Richardson and FlexFit. Whether you're looking to show off your business or want a one-of-a-kind hat for yourself, 920 Hat Company can do it all. All the hats are handcrafted right in the Fox Valley, but worn across America. With over 500 hats in stock, they guarantee fast turnaround times. Honestly, Liam, looking at these hats, solid, right?
Yeah, they're pretty. I like them.
I like that patch itself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one-of-a-kind stuff. I know his name's Trevor. He does great work. He's actually gotten I think we got a knit hat coming.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we got that coming. So we're really excited to have these guys on board as a sponsor. So get down to check them out on Facebook. I believe they're on Instagram. Check them out, man. They got the best hats, I think, in the Fox Valley, if not in the state.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So get down to 920 Hat Company on social media and check them out. All right, everyone. This is the Vision Quest podcast. Another episode. We have on the other side of the world. Actually, you're far away. You're in Croatia. We have Alston Nutter here with us, current U.S. team member. Are you what event do you guys at over there? You guys doing a tournament?
We just finished up the Zagreb Open, and
oh, nice.
And it was pretty good. But now we're at a camp in Poric, Croatia.
Okay.
I think there's 50 countries here, ton of guys. There's 3 separate groups for practices, so it's been awesome.
Wow.
Get to grind with the best in the world, and that's always the best.
Oh shit! All right. Well, if you guys are over there, what kind of stuff is there anything different going on? I mean, we know about the stuff that was going on in the Ukraine, but does any of that stuff spill over? Do you guys see any of that?
I mean, kinda. It's kinda. We don't really. It's kind of like the big elephant in the room. No one really talks about it a whole lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen we don't see as many Ukraine guys, obviously, because of everything going on. I mean, it's kind of it kind of keeps on the down low, and nobody really gets into everything.
Yeah.
And,
just leave it alone.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, honestly, at this camp, it's like it's not even happening.
That's good.
But obviously, everyone knows it. Yeah, not a whole lot of talk about it.
That's good. That's good. So you started out. You haven't always been a Greco kid. I mean, you've been in wrestling for a while. When did you first start wrestling?
I started wrestling in a town, real small town in southwest Wisconsin called Soldiers Grove.
Okay.
I went to Crawford till I was in 2nd grade, so that's where I started wrestling. My dad was a wrestler in high school, so when I was 4 years old, he just had me try it, and I mean, I stuck with it for a while, and then.
Were you just going to like a small club? Was it just your dad taking you to high school practices or something? No,
I was just going to just the normal youth practice,
Yeah.
And that's right. And then we moved to Fenimore, Wisconsin when I was in 3rd grade. I just did youth there. And then I stayed there. I went to Lucas for a little bit when I was in I think 5th or 6th grade, just very briefly.
Yeah.
And then my 7th grade, I went to lacrosse.
Okay.
I wrestled for the lacrosse area wrestlers, that club.
Yeah.
And I went for a year, and then that spring of my 7th grade year is when I met Lucas, and we just did one day. He's like, "Hey man, I'd love to have you in," and so I went in. We started training. He showed me a few Greco things. We met on a Friday in the wrestling room at Baroka High School, and he's put me through a crash course in Greco. We went up to, I think it was Eagan, Minnesota, and went to a tournament, and man, it was awesome. Trained with Lucas, since day one. So
dude's
it's been sweet.
He's crazy. That guy is probably one of the craziest, and not even crazy in like a scary way either. Like, because you don't know it until you start talking to him. You're like, this dude's kind of weird. So when you oh man, that's like I said, that's why he gets a show on here. That's why he's got his own segment, just because he needs a place to go off at. So when you go ahead,
my bad.
Go ahead, man. What was up?
No, and a lot of people like that's get into it with him. But you know what? His compassion for the sport of Greco specifically is really awesome. And that's what we need.
Yeah.
So
hands down.
To the end.
I agree. So when you started out wrestling, I mean, were you kind of one of those multi-sport kids too, where you were doing wrestling a little bit, but you were doing a little bit of baseball or doing a little bit of football?
Yeah. I actually, until about my 7th grade year, I was splitting most of my year between wrestling and baseball. I played a lot of baseball. My 6th and 7th grade year, I played in this team out of Dubuque, Iowa, for about 2 years, and I played all over Illinois and Iowa. I was a center fielder for Bases Loaded Academy. It was called. It was an absolute blast. I was a huge baseball player, but
nice.
I mean, I'm not 6'2" hitting dingers over the fence. So I quickly learned my body and everything, and I decided to put my focus into wrestling.
So a lot of kids actually, you bring your height up because a lot of wrestlers are short, and a lot of wrestlers are just shorter than the average dude anyways. How tall are you? You look like on a poster like you're about 6'8".
I'm 5'7".
Okay.
I'm not that short, but I mean,
yeah,
I'm definitely a short king for sure. I'm a short king.
so people know me, put it in perspective. I'm 5'10". So that way, you know, when you're looking at the poster, these guys are larger than life, but they're short in human size.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy how a lot of these, especially, I'm sorry, but a lot of the better athletes that are really, especially wrestlers that are really good at wrestling, they're always that small dude. They're that kind of guy. Like you're like, there's no way he can do that. Yes, he can do that, and he does it very well. And he actually throws guys really hard. So I always tell Liam it's an advantage, not a disadvantage. But when as you're coming through, and you said you really like baseball, did you find yourself kind of saying wrestling? It's kind of fun, but I want to go to like the MLB, and I want to try to be. No, that ended after a while.
For a while, I never ever saw myself. I mean, obviously, I had dreams as a kid, you know, as a kid, I wanted to play in the NFL and everything, you know, and seeing all those big guys. But I mean, baseball, I kind of never saw, like when I was 12 and 13 years old. But I mean, these kids, honestly, I was really surprised how big 12 and 13-year-olds could be.
Yeah.
And like some of the fields we were playing on like 200 and probably 240 to a couple fields, like 240 to the center.
Yeah.
And these kids are just smoking it out. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't even do that. So I'm not going to go.
Yeah. That's kind of where I was at with baseball too.
But man, it's so fun.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Well, and I remember as a kid, I didn't travel quite as much as you did with baseball, but just the stuff that we did with baseball. I mean, we would always just size kids up, and like, I couldn't hit very well, so I was just aiming for kids in the infield just to see if I could hit him. You know, like, I'm never going to hit a home run. Maybe I can hit Jack over on second base, see if I can hit him. But we used to have fun with that stuff. I think as a kid, when you don't, you know, like you said, you were kind of, you know, you were playing sports. You have dreams, goals, things like that. I think sometimes as a kid, you kind of, you sit there and look at what you want to do, and then like you sit back as an adult and you're like, man, I wonder if I could have done that. And in reality, you sit back and think even now, it's like, no, probably couldn't have done that, man.
Yeah.
Couldn't have done that. So when you started kind of climbing up into the wrestling, were you, I don't know, were you good? Was it something where you felt natural at it?
Well, when I met Lucas, I wasn't ever big into the Olympic styles until I met Lucas. And actually my 7th year, Lucas was always pushing Greco. He's been pushing Greco since day one. Yeah. And actually I was way better. I was better freestyle wrestler. I won state in 7th grade in freestyle, and I took like 6th in Greco. I just, for whatever reason, I just didn't compete well.
Yeah.
And then my 8th grade year is where wrestling really started coming together for me. I was bigger. I hit puberty more. I was more mature. And then that's when I was able to, and then the training, obviously, that's when I was able to, you know, switch over to Greco. But I was a big folk style wrestler for a while. I wrestled it my freshman and sophomore year, and that's where I stopped after that. But I was really big folk style for a while. And Luke's brother, actually, he made me really like folk style. I really liked it. His mind towards everything. And then we turned to train Fenimore. We didn't have a great few years before that. And then Stout came in and really turned the program around. And it was really fun having a good team like in high school, because I mean, like again, like you're with the boys, you're beating ass, and it's a great time.
Yeah, for sure.
But then, as I got older, I knew I was gonna wrestle Greco, so I'm like, man, I can't be doing this anymore. So
yeah. So that's kind of, so I want to get into that a little bit more, because that's a big reason why I talked to Lucas and stuff. I think a lot of stuff gets lost in translation, and why guys kind of step away to focus on certain things. Cause you hear, and that's kind of why I asked you about being in multiple sports. And, you know, as a kid, you don't think about it as far as damaging to the body or whatever it is, but, or exactly what you have dreams and goals for. Cause I mean, that could change in a decade, but with what you guys did, so let's put it this way: wrestling is a folk styler. You had fun. I mean, you obviously you're loving the sport. You're coming up, and I mean, did you win a couple youth state titles as far as folk style?
I won title my 8th grade year.
Okay,
and then that's it. I was, to be honest with you, like in wrestling before I met Lucas, I was pretty ass. Like in comparison to the rest of the country, I was not good.
Okay.
At all.
Okay. All right.
And whatever stuff started clicking, I started understanding, and Lucas was able to. I never had a coach before. Lucas, like, be able to take what I was good at.
Yeah.
And I always was with these cookie cutter coaches that you got to wrestle like this, you got to do this.
Yeah.
And you know, it just never worked out for me, because I've always, since a kid, I've always been more of an upper body wrestler.
Yep.
So, but then like, I would always be, I don't know, I just never was able to put my style together to make it work for me. But then Lucas showed me some stuff. You know, we worked for a lot on stuff. He always, you know, we'd have one-on-ones all the time together.
Yeah.
And that's when stuff really started to click, like using like leg attacks to get to my upper body.
Okay.
And
yeah,
that's the route I went with it.
Yeah. So you're, you know, we'll get a little into high school then, because this is where the transition kind of happens for you. When you started working with Lucas, were you kind of getting to the point, like after maybe a month or two, where you're kind of like, oh, you know, folk style is not going to be my thing? Did you have to sit down and like really think about it, or did you have to, you know, talk to your parents? I mean, was it one of those things where I guess I'm making it sound like it's this like life altering decision, but really was. I mean, because you're thinking about you're not going to college, you know, the way that the route that you were going. What was kind of the decision and the path that you decided to go? I mean, how taxing was that for you at a young age to be able to be like, you know, I don't want to go to college. This is what I want to do.
Well, my freshman year, you know, I was all into the folk style stuff with Lucas, his brother and stuff.
Yeah.
And freshman year, I won a state title in Division III.
Okay.
And I was I was waiting for the Greco season to come around, but I was definitely enjoying wrestling. I mean, it's really hard not to enjoy wrestling when you're winning. Yeah. I mean, you can't. I wasn't winning like big folk style stuff, but I mean, I was winning in Wisconsin.
You felt good. Freshman,
yeah. It's hard to see past. You know, like when you're young, it's really hard to see a big picture. I mean, it's really hard. So that talks about me doing full-time Greco. I mean, honestly, at that point, I don't even know if that necessarily was even on the table until my sophomore year.
Okay.
And then after my sophomore year, I wrestled. We had a lot tougher schedule that year, so I wasn't winning as often. We were wrestling. We had a better team, so we were running all over the country, and I was wrestling some good guys. A lot of guys in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then it came around. I took second at state that year, and then we won team state, so that was cool.
Yeah. But
then after that, really moved in to Greco-Roman. And then the previous fall, I had traveled to Sweden. And then the before that, in 2015, I went to the Netherlands to train and overseas. I really started to like fall in love with the culture of wrestling in Europe. I thought it was really awesome. Like nobody over here understands. A lot of people don't even know that we even wrestle folk style. And
that's weird.
So it's a big difference in wrestling culture over here. But like the end of my sophomore year is when I was like, Lucas, man, I mean, I like folk style, but I just don't think this is me. Yeah. So I started contacting Northern Michigan and talking to Rob Herman, and he was a big part in, you know, setting everything up. And I actually ended up leaving high school, Fenimore High School, and went to Marquette High School in Michigan in the Peninsula. living in the dorms at Northern Michigan. And yeah, that's kind of where, but like to get back to what you were saying, it was a really big process. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was 16 years old. So, I mean, if you put that in perspective,
Yeah.
My parents were all on board with me leaving. I mean, it's hard for them. I mean, I'm the oldest son. So, I mean,
right.
Like just that letting me leave as a 16-year-old. I mean, that's got to be tough on my parents, but we had a big talk.
Yeah.
It was one time spring. And then I was actually injured and I did something to my arm and we actually just decided, I think this is the best route to go. So that August, picked up and I moved to Marquette, Michigan. Just went straight for it.
So your parents are just like, it sounds like a good idea kind of thing. Like it wasn't a, hey, we want to see you go to a 4-year college or, kind of the usual banter you hear. They were open-minded to it.
Yeah. And
wow.
Yeah, we decided to go to Northern Michigan because they still had the Olympic training site at that point.
So
that's the route.
Had you gone overseas like once or twice before you had kind of made the kind of decision? Because like you said, you kind of fell in love with the culture and stuff over there. Because it's way different. Liam went over there. Liam went to Estonia. And he told me the same thing. He's like that. I brought up the word folk style and people looked at me like I had no idea what I was talking about. And I was like, really interesting. But they are still very sports orientated. And once you decide to do something, that's what you dedicate your life to, where that's the other reason why I kind of bring up the multi-sport thing with everyone, because here we're like, you got to do it all. You should be able to play 5 sports if you want to. And unfortunately you just can't now because how good people are. They focus on one thing. And if you don't, you're out. They're on top,
I'm a firm believer in being a well-rounded athlete. But I mean, if your dreams are to be, even from a young kid, if you want to win the Olympics, I mean, it's never too late to just, I think, focus on one thing and go after it. I mean, playing football and stuff. And I really like football. I played football a little bit and I loved it, man. I love football, but I had to make a decision. I'm not going to be the next McCaffrey. And I just decided to focus on one thing and just go after that. But I did go overseas a couple of times. Like that spring, I went to the Netherlands, like I said, and then I went with Rob Herman and his entire Northern Michigan team to Sweden, which was we did a camp and a tournament there. And it was really cool. I met a lot of guys who I ended up going to college with for a long time, actually, and it was awesome.
Nice. So when you started going overseas, I mean, were you just kind of like with a group, or you said you went to NMU? Were you young? What was the first time you went over? How old were you when you went over the first time?
I was 15 the first time I went over. It would have been the end of my freshman year. I went to the Netherlands. I went with a group of wrestlers from Wisconsin. Lucas came with me, and we traveled to like 4 different countries and wrestled with the club in each one. It was pretty sweet.
Nice. Did you have success going over? I mean, was that something else that you had fun with? I mean, just to see more natural?
Yeah, I did. I actually did really well. I took second at my first 2 trips I went over versus some good guys. But I mean, the difference in the finals, like little Greco things that, me wrestling folk style the whole time before really had to play in that. But as you guys got stuff went away, obviously. But
yeah. So to put things in perspective, this you were in high school 6 years ago, sophomore, 6 years ago.
Yeah, I graduated in 18.
Okay,
and then I was a sophomore, 15 and 16.
Just so people kind of, not everybody knows you, but that way people can kind of put in perspective like where you've gone as far as internationally from then to now, just looking at, a couple of things that you've done as far as going to like worlds and everything. What was it? Serbia. You were in Serbia in 2021. That was another tough tournament too. What was it? 2022. No, it wasn't that. I don't see a whole lot there. I'm on the website for the junior championships, Estonia. Took third there. Yep. Yeah. So you've been doing, the international stuff for quite some time. Have you found a certain country now that you've kind of gravitated towards a little bit more while you're over there?
Sweden. I love Sweden. I got this real good buddy named Niklas Olan, and he's from Sundsvall, Sweden. He's their 67 number one. He actually just won nationals from last week. But before I came to Croatia, I spent 2 weeks with him, and yeah,
nice.
That's my place.
Nice.
Sweden's my.
What's so some of the stuff that you guys wind up doing and that you have to immerse yourself in, and Lucas talks about this quite a bit, with just like gymnastics, tumbling, stuff like that, and core work. And when you guys, and a couple of people have talked about it here, when you guys practice here, do you find yourself when you go overseas that you have to adapt your practices to how things are over there, like when you're working with another team or you're doing your training? Or are you guys over there just kind of open-minded as far as like, we're going to do our thing here, but over here we'll probably have to do this? Are you guys able to adapt? Or
Yeah, the practices are set up, but it's a pretty transition. There's not really, maybe each country has their own style of warm-up, or maybe how much they wrestle a lot of stuff, but there's not, it's pretty seamless transition. Like I know, like whenever I go to Hungary, I know there's going to be no technique, and I'm going to wrestle live for 2 weeks straight, and it's going to be
holy shit.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But like then I'll go to like just Croatia, where we'll wrestle live hard for 3 practices straight, and then we'll get a day and a half off.
Yeah.
So they put a little bit more into like recovery to where like in Hungary, I'll go like, we'll do 2 days, 2 practices each day.
Yeah.
And it'll be 45 minutes of live each practice. And then that third day, you got to recover.
Yeah. Or you're going to die.
Coming right back. Yes, sir.
So when you guys are working the way you guys work, do you find that a lot of especially now that you're over there right now, do you find a lot of the athletes are curious as to why you guys do certain things the way that you do them, or do they kind of already know that it's the US guys and we don't do what they do, our stuff is better? Is that
maybe little things, but each country, especially with the language barrier too.
Sure, yeah.
They're always got, people are so, and this is, it's just how it is. Like people are always kind of wondering what the Americans are doing. Because it's just like America is such a big place, and it's such a different place compared to the rest of the world. So people are. It's like are you talking about with like technique and stuff?
Yeah, like technique. So like when you guys are training, do you guys find a lot of what you're doing is because I remember when Liam went over and he was kind of talking, we talked about it with Maja a little bit, how they're teaching us how you're stepping around. And it was probably a little more freestyle than anything, but stepping around, and the way that we step was way bigger, and they didn't understand why we took such big steps. And it was just little things like that, just kind of like minute details that it sounded like they did things just a little bit different. Not that it was bad or anything like that, but just they did things a little bit differently. I'm wondering if it's just harder to adjust to doing things the way that they do it when they're training,
Yeah, well, at this point, every Greco wrestler is going to have his specific style and his specific good techniques.
Yeah.
Now, maybe we come over here and we see the Azerbaijani hitting something really nice. Maybe we'll go up and ask him how he's doing that.
Yeah.
But the adjustments we're making now was like so like minuscule. So it's a lot different when it comes to stuff like that. But in terms of that, it's really nice going to these camps because you wrestle with so many guys from so many different countries.
Yeah.
You pick up these real little things that can really have a huge impact on your career.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool in that regard. But I would say, doing stuff differently, not necessarily. It's just like using what you have and making a small adjustment to make yours.
Yeah.
Like your technique.
Right on.
But it's not a huge difference, but I'd say every country definitely has their style.
Do you guys find that, because I guess a lot of people have this stigma because that Greco is so much different, and it is different. The technique is different. The style is different, but it's still a wrestling, technique. So with that being said, do you guys find, is there still a ton of cutting in Greco? Do you guys worry about weight in Greco a lot, or is it the same kind of worry as everybody else?
Yeah, it's definitely still the same thing, right? But nutrition is for sure the most important part in your career.
Yeah.
If you don't do the right things, you're not going to perform.
Okay.
So just putting in like dieting is massive, right? And because we only get 2 hours after weigh-in. So if you don't diet right and get your weight down correctly, it's going to be it's going to be pretty rough.
So when we're going to kind of dive back in a little bit more what Lucas kind of talks about, especially with you guys at a young age, not young, it makes sense to do it, but like at high school to make that choice to just cut off and just do it. When you first started to go up to Marquette, did your parents stay down in Fenimore and then you were up there by yourself kind of thing? How was that?
Yeah.
How was that by yourself?
At first, it was kind of lonely because, I mean, I had freedom, don't get me wrong, and stuff, but it's still, all the guys were 2 years older than me. It was definitely weird at first. I obviously made good friends and stuff, but I got lonely pretty often.
Sure.
Because like, it's just so much different, right? I went to a high school where I didn't know anybody. I made a few friends, but it was just like, still, you know, only now I was 300 miles away from my hometown, but it was definitely lonely at first.
You really had to keep your.
And then I grew in. I didn't really like Marquette when I first went up there. You know, it was cold. We get 180 inches of snow. And then it's nice months out of the year. But once I got older, I was really able to appreciate Marquette in every way. And it's going to forever be in my heart, that place. So. Yeah,
for sure. Well, I mean, as a kid, too, I mean, you're talking 15, 16 or whatever it is that you are going up there. I mean, you're just learning how to probably figure out your friends at home. Now you're thrown into an environment where you're by yourself. You got to figure it out on your own. You got to figure out your schedule. And I would assume your parents were all in on it. So I assume you had a pretty good support system. I mean, if you had problems, call home and mom and dad give you a hand or whatever.
They've supported me so well.
That's good.
So well. I couldn't ask for more.
So when you talk about like the COVID year, how did that affect you guys with COVID? I mean, obviously it devastated everybody, but as far as competition, worldwide traveling, how did you guys have to adapt to that? Because everything you do is worldwide.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Especially being in university where you have to follow all the rules of the university.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we were doing like we weren't even wrestling a lot of times. And like, you got to be able to wrestle wrestle. Like, you can't be doing like Bulgarian bags and stuff like that. So I mean, it was really, and then we got to the point where we were wrestling with masks on and stuff, and I was just like, this is so ridiculous. So it was tough though with training. I mean, like you said, it was shut down. I didn't travel. I remember at March 15th, I drove home from northern Michigan because the whole world shut down.
Yeah.
And I was locked up for a while, and the only place I was training was with Lucas. And I didn't travel again until that next spring of 21. And I think it did have an effect on every single wrestler in the United States. I thought the entire quality of our wrestling, I mean, obviously, you can't, like, it just really went down. And I thought myself, like, the ring rust really set it in, like I had heat in almost 2 years. It was like a year and 8 months. And it was
shit. That's crazy. Yeah. You guys had to sit around for that fucking long?
That's how, because I was supposed to go to Hungary that spring. I did go to Hungary, but I went to get on my flight, and they were like, you can't go to Hungary. Do you have a different passport? And I go, no, I don't got a different passport.
Yeah.
So we had to contact this, what was it, this ambassador or whatever at the embassy in Chicago for the Hungarian Federation.
Yeah.
Then we had to get a written note with a stamp and everything to get through the border. But so we ended up missing that tournament, which would have been huge to get a competition in before the Olympic trials that spring. But I wasn't able to, so I ended up not competing for a long time.
I think a lot of kids don't understand that fact, in the younger ones especially. Like, you had all that time off, right? So, I mean, you guys could train. It's not like you guys couldn't go lift up a log out in the yard or something like that, that kind of thing. But as far as the training aspect, you had that long gap. You got to go do some practicing, but the not competing before a big competition. Now, when you're 10 years old, this shit doesn't matter, but not competing before a big competition and getting your brain back into the flow of things, that's pretty crucial. Like it's pretty big, getting yourself back to yourself, not even just breathing in your muscles, but just technique wise and going back on the mat. I mean, you're talking about trying to get ready for the Olympic trials.
Yeah.
Like you're not dealing with schlubs. So like, yeah, it's pretty important. I mean, when you're putting in a competition piece like that, how do you guys do it in like, cycles where you do like a 3-week training, then 1 week before something it's just kind of light? Like, how do you guys work that, especially after being off?
Totally. It's a whole process. It's like typically like a 12-week process with like your cardio and everything you do. But going into a big tournament like that, I mean, the biggest thing, you can train, be in great shape, have great technique. But the biggest thing when you go to seniors is like match strategy. And if you're not competing, first of all, I mean, you can have practice matches in practice.
Yeah.
But like throwing all those emotions and feelings you have going into a match, you just can't replicate that. And then so that strategy within a match is huge, because it's not like you go out wrestle your first match and then you can redo it over again. Like if your match strategy is off and you lose, well, you're done.
Yeah.
So like having a strategy, like that's the one thing competition, like real live competition is so big for, because I mean, like you got to get your strategies down, especially in Greco-Roman.
Right.
Like it's like the difference between the best guys and the guys who are okay is just like that match strategy, scoring when you need to score, not scoring when you need to score, or take risk when you don't need to.
Yeah.
That's huge, especially with the force parterre with the passivities.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's right.
Big. It's a big strategy game, and you really see it when you come over. Like we just had the Zagreb Open, and you really can just break down everyone's match strategy, and and you can tell.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes a huge difference.
I think there's a lot to be said behind the preparation. I did an episode with Gary Mayab a while back. And we talk about a lot about mental preparation, and I think a lot of kids get confused, or even athletes get confused and think that, you're strategizing against an opponent. Not really. You're strategizing for yourself. Because when you're going through you're going through that training process, you're maybe finding things that I used to be really good at this move, but now I'm not. Now I got to kind of figure things out and readjust how I attack, readjust my approach. So a lot of kids think that I don't want to watch video of, this loss that I had. You don't have to watch video of them. It's you practicing and getting that muscle memory back, and the things that maybe you're not good at anymore because your body just doesn't want to do it right. There's a lot of that stuff. So when you guys put that time and work in, when you get to these trials, or when you get to these, I don't know, even trials, or just a championship, do you guys find yourself trying to, I guess, psych yourself out sometimes, or just get amped up even more? Because the adrenaline flow is different. The adrenaline flow is different, like you said, during competition. Do you guys try to take it up like a couple notches at practice then with that? Just to kind of try to get yourself just, I don't know, just mentally there, because like I said, adrenaline, dopamines, all that stuff's flowing when you're competing, but you can't get that in the room. Do you guys try to beef it up a little more?
I don't know. There's not really a way to, imitate it.
Sure.
But it varies person to person. Some people, like, I don't, like, to myself, I like to get like psyched up, but like psyched up with confidence, and not like, like wanted to punch walls and stuff. So I like personally, I always like just to be like calm and just chill.
Sure. Okay.
And then I'll go out and just do my thing. But I don't, to be honest with you, there's not really a way to, like, the emotions, there's no way to imitate, but like doing the live matches and having a process, like how you warm up, how you cool down, and like when you take your nutrients in and everything like that. I think that's more important to practice and focus on. And then I'd say, like, going into a match, I mean, that's all on you. You got to be, if you're psyched out and scared, I mean, you got to figure out a way to channel that, or
for sure,
maybe get some to figure out how you, because if that becomes a mental block, then you got to figure out, maybe you get a sports psychologist or something like that to help you channel energy. And I'm going to be honest, it never really bothered me when I was a kid, right? I was just always ready to wrestle because I wrestled 70,000 matches a year. But now, like, there's more on the line and everything. And it's definitely more stressful, but I feel like I've been very successful being able to like channel it and just be like,
yeah,
you just got to check in with yourself and be like, hey man, whether I win or lose, I'm going to go out and just step on the line. And I know it's pretty cliche, but I mean, it's got to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's
with some of this, a lot of the success you've had with the losses, wins, stuff like that. What's one of the most memorable moments as a youth that you have in the U.S.?
Like as a youth, I would say definitely, like meeting Lucas, but like I lost this match to go to state my 7th grade year.
Yeah.
In overtime loss. And that's not a big deal at all to anyone, but like that was a big turning point in my life with the sport of wrestling. That's a very, like, I think that probably will stick with me the rest of my life. Whatever I lost, and just like, all right, if I'm going to do this, I got to make a change. Yeah. Yeah. It was, So that's why it was just a small little tournament in Wisconsin when I was in 7th grade. And I really switched.
Yeah, it could have been an ice cream shop. Who the hell knows? You never know when that chick picks, you know? With that being said, what was your favorite high school moment in the U.S.?
My favorite high school, like with folk style or just in general?
Just in general in wrestling. When I
won my first All-American in Fargo my 8th grade year, that was sweet.
Nice.
Man, it was like me and Lucas were finally like, working. Stuff was coming together. I was figuring out how I was wrestling, and that was a big for us. That was awesome.
Sweet. No, that's in the U.S. Now, what about what was your first favorite international moment?
My favorite international moment, like all together, for sure, when I won bronze, that was crazy.
Yeah,
I worked so hard. I dieted so hard that summer to make 63.
Did you?
And not lifting a lot of weight, but like I was really watching what I put into my body.
Yeah,
and it was really nice. And it was really nice, like when you put the work in and then you get results, there's not a better feeling in the world.
Hell yeah. Well, that's I talked about Liam a couple of times. He's really starting to find that out too, that nutrition and all that stuff really makes a difference. I mean, he's a freshman, but he works with Frank Jasper. He actually does nutrition, which is crazy. I never even would have thought it, but it does matter. A lot of the stuff as a kid, again, a lot of people who listen to this with middle schoolers, just let them wrestle. Don't worry about peas, carrots, all that stuff. Make sure they're eating their vegetables and potatoes and meat. But one of the things that Liam is starting to learn is that your body is an engine, and it's got to be. You can't just live off of Skittles and Starbursts, for 10 years while you're playing Xbox and shit and think you're gonna nail it. So I think he started to kind of find that out this year, and he saw the effects that it was having on other people, and having you guys out there, not only just doing the right things, but you're showing kids how exciting this fucking sport is.
Yeah.
Because you guys are having fun, and that's the best part, is watching you guys let it rip. And just like your roommate too, watching all you guys go out there and having fun with it, not just out there being like, this is my job, this is what I want to do. Like, that sounds fucking boring, and that makes it sound like it's a job. Nobody wants to have a job because then it feels like work, and you guys are having fun because you love it. And watching that is fucking sweet, because I'll tell you what, watching you and I'm trying to get in touch with Benji too, but watching you guys, especially when you guys, because you let it fly, you guys have learned well, and when you guys hit stuff, like, you let people know when you hit it, because you even if it's the middle of the match, you guys will get up and be like, goddamn right, I just hit that. That's right. Let's go back to the center. I'm doing it again.
Yeah.
That's the best part. And I think that's the confidence you're talking about. And I think a lot of people mistake that for cockiness, and it's not, because you guys just did something pretty incredible in the middle of a mat that most people can't do. So I take it with like fucking A, right? You can do that in the middle of the mat. That's right. Yeah. That's right. And hit that shit again and do it again. Yeah.
That's a good mindset. It grows the sport, and
hell yeah, man.
It's awesome.
That's the thing.
You can't get that feeling and stuff anywhere.
Yeah. I don't watch.
You can't get that on the street.
No,
you can't.
Hell no, you can't. I don't watch you guys guys like Kamal Bay just because you stand around. I mean, I watch you guys because you like throwing people around, dude. It's the best shit in the world.
Hell yeah.
So with that being said, with all these kids and all these parents that kind of listen to stuff, they're like, oh, I don't know about, Let's list out some of the pros and cons. What were some of the pros of you deciding to go at such a young age and just individualize the thing that you want to do and that you love the most? What are some of the pros on it?
Well, a big pro is if you do want to wrestle like an Olympic style. I mean, the freestyle, folk style translates really easily to that. Now, on the other hand, Greco obviously doesn't, because it's
different,
literally the opposite of folk style.
No legs,
and freestyle.
Yep.
But I would say, I mean, the biggest pro leaving early. I mean, you got to remember the guys you're going to be wrestling if you do make the Olympics have been wrestling since they were 4 years old, learning arm throws and body locks since they were 4 years old. I mean, you tell me how many times people hit body locks in folk style. I mean, you got a big, you got to make, so you're saying, let's say you want to make the Olympics when you're 23. Well, let's say you stop wrestling folk style at 18 and then you go to you join Greco, let's say.
Yep.
Well, you got to work. You have to, in 5 years, you have to make up for the time that these kids have been going since they were 4 years old. So you got 18 years pretty much that you're behind. So it's not that easy. So the earlier you better, and then when you're younger, obviously it's easier to learn shit when you're when you're 15 than when you're 25.
Right.
So yeah, I would totally think that's a huge pro. You just get a huge head start. And honestly, just having the mindset of because there's like between folk style and Greco, like just the entire mindset of the match is different.
Yeah.
So like being able to have a mindset, like standing on your own feet in a Greco match is way different.
Yeah.
Like where you put your balance, where you put your weight, everything.
It is.
So I mean, getting those little things, that's what's made a major key and obviously starting earlier.
Yeah.
If Greco's what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, honestly, the only con I could think of would just, I don't know, it's wrestling can be a very lonely sport. So like if you leave early and go off with you, I mean, but you got to sacrifice something. You're not going to be great unless you don't sacrifice. So I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't know what a con would be of leaving early. I mean, I don't. I really don't.
Because you've only seen the benefits, yeah. Fucking Lucas. Why is Lucas always right?
It would be, I would say the cons would be all outside, like external forces more than within the sport.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think, I couldn't imagine what a con would be to wrestling, like another year of folk style instead of like, if you want to do Greco, instead of like just doing Greco.
Yeah.
I could like, I think folk style, if I would start wrestling a year of folk style, I think my Greco would go backwards substantially.
Yeah. Oh, hands down. Hands down. Yeah, I agree. Liam's not a Greco kid. He's just never going to be, but he trains it, because you still need it. It makes your wrestling stronger.
Totally.
So that's kind of the thing where I always approach parents with it. I was like, you may have a bad taste in your mouth, about it, or you just don't know about it. But don't not do it. That's just like anything else. Like if it's part of the sport, like I would still have my kid doing it. Maybe not competing it because he doesn't like it, but you're still going to train in it because it matters.
Well, and I think just having some sense of being able to like have upper body attacks is huge, because I've seen so many times like the best freestylers, they'll get into, like around the waist with the lock or maybe end up in a body lock situation somehow where they have to do something.
Yep. And
I always see guys like they just go back out of it, or but like I watch some of these, even like some of the foreigners in freestyle, like it's just like Sedulayev, to see him being able, his upper body attacks, and even in parterre, I just think like I think it would be really crappy if I was in the finals of like let's say the world championships in freestyle and I end up in a spot I don't know what to do.
Yep.
That's why I really think like you should have some sense. You should be like, all right, if I get around this waist and I have my feet on the ground and this guy doesn't know what to do, I'm gonna soup him for 5.
I'm throwing him
instead of taking him down 2. Now that's safe to 2 points, but I just think having some sort of knowledge with the upper body, there's no way it could hurt anything. I'm not saying quit freestyle, wrestle Greco for a year, but I'm saying like maybe work on a little, like have some knowledge with it. I think he would be huge. jacking guys up. I don't know.
Well, hand fighting.
To score big points.
Because the hand fight, like you said, your stance in Greco is way different than it is in folk style because the pressures where your balance is, stuff like that. And so I think that the hand fighting is the most crucial part because that's your angle. That's how you're getting in. And that's what you see a lot of. And I think that's where people get bored with Greco because there's so much of that going on. But they don't understand that that's like a guys in freestyle or folk style when they're pulling on a head and trying to circle. That's your version of that. And people are just like, well, they just look like they're just pushing their hands around and stuff. No, they're not. No, they're pretty much almost punching each other in the gut when they're hand fighting like that. I was like, it's kind of crazy. I said, have you ever heard of pummeling? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, pummeling. And I show them, they're like, seriously? And I'm pummeling. Like I'm showing them what pummeling feels like. And they're like, oh my God. Yeah. That's what they're doing for however long.
It's so tiring. You do it for 6 minutes because in Greco you have to be chest to chest the whole time.
Yeah.
You can't if you keep breaking off, you're gonna put down progressivity or the ref's gonna absolutely ream your ass. Like you gotta be like chest to chest fighting the whole time.
Yep.
Or you're gonna get down and man, like this you're gonna honestly get put down.
Yep.
Probably in a lot of matches you wrestle, but it's not this. You don't want to be on bottom. All the rules are switched towards the top guy's advantage.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to fight like hell on bottom now. So it's
what country's got the best Greco game?
The Greco game.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, they're not allowed to compete. But I mean, Russia's pretty dirty. They just got this crazy style with like they're super strong.
Yeah.
And they got some nice stuff, especially in parterre.
Okay.
Russia and Iran.
Oh yeah. Iran and Greco, huh? No shit.
Huge. So good, man.
Okay.
Like a lot of the weights, like the Garay brothers.
Yep.
They're both world champions. Actually, the younger one just won the last Olympics. So
okay. Brothers.
Dorian from back in the day was Iranian, and he's a legend. So
what was his name?
Yeah, Dorian.
Oh yeah. Okay, gotcha. You just broke up a little bit.
He's a light guy. He was like 55 kilos.
Nice. So what's next on the world tour for you after you're done with Croatia? Where are you guys going after that?
I'll come back for a little bit, and then I'm going to wrestle in the Thor Masters on the 23rd of March. Yeah,
that's what's Sweden, or is it Denmark? Okay, gotcha. Close, very close. At least I got the nation right, the national area. Yeah. So when do you think like how old you're 20 now? 23? 23. So do you think you're gonna do this till you're 40?
I'm gonna do it probably until my body quits. I'm for sure looking.
Have you
2028? I'm really zooming in on, and if I could go another cycle after that, that'd be awesome.
Right on. But here's another question: Do you think Greco takes a bigger toll on your body than the other ones? I almost think it doesn't. Just watching, because like how much attacking. Because again, you guys are upper body, but the attacking and freestyle with getting buried under a guy or anything like that, where
I say on your knees 100%, but I would say the most of the damage and stuff gets transferred from the knees, and goes straight to your neck.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Even at 23, man, I'm feeling. I just got work done from the WCAP trainer for about an hour on my neck. But I mean, I would say it just gets transferred around, especially because like Greco, man, you're always defending through. You're always using your neck. You're doing ducks.
Oh
you're posting your head out to stop a throw.
Yeah.
Those guys are always pulling on it.
Yep.
Guys doing front heads. Guys are burying on parterre on top. They're putting their forehead in the back of your neck and trying to crank you over.
I forgot.
And the neck is destroyed.
It's destroyed. That's right. So as far as I don't think you've really missed much as far as championships or anything like that due to injury, have you?
Actually, I just missed this last U23s because I snapped my arm at Final X.
Oh man, lame.
Yeah, I got this nice little scar. Yeah, I got crashed, gutted, posted out, and my UCL was just see ya.
Shitty. So
Yeah,
one injury.
Back.
Right on. Cool. Well, as far as any other competitions, man, I mean, obviously you're gunning for Olympics. Are there world championships coming up? When are those next?
Those are in. They are, I think, the world championships are either next or
okay.
October. I think.
Is it October? I'm really out of the loop. See, like I think,
and I think back in Belgrade again. I want to say.
And I fucking brain fart way too much right now because it's the championship part of folk style season for high school over here. So like I have literally, I think someone messaged me last week and like, you only did one episode last week. I was like, there's way too much shit going on, man. Like we're lucky where it's in Kakana, where sectionals are in Kakana this time, but I brain fart on everything. Like I was talking to Lucas about something. I think I asked him like, it was a really dumb question. Like I should have known the answer, but that with all this like freshman year crap going on with Liam, it's like I brain fart on all kinds of shit right now. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you alone, man. You guys, have you been training all day?
No, today we got an off day, so we went and played some basketball and soccer. And we sauntered for a little bit. I got some stuff worked on my neck with the trainer, and we've been chilling, and we go back at it tomorrow. So
hey, you're playing soccer, you let those guys know if they need any help on the national team. I'm available. That's kind of my gig is soccer. I'll start training again. That's fine.
Yeah, I will.
All right, man. Well, I'm gonna get out of your hair, dude. You guys have been training.
I love football.
Yeah, I know. Well, I love football. I love soccer, but I mean, I've been playing soccer since I was 4. I played for Milwaukee Wave and stuff like that. So, but when we come back, soccer. we want to have you back on, man. We want to keep following you a little bit. So anything you got going on, if we message and reach out to you, just let us know what you're doing, and we'll definitely be following you.
Anytime I'm invited on, I'll be on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. And I'll tell Lucas you said hi. Obviously, I'm sure you talk to him on a daily.
Oh, yeah.
All right, man.
Oh, I do.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. See ya.
See you later.
That was Alston Nutter, Combat Wrestling Club, Blue River Boy, one of Lucas Stelz's guys over in Croatia right now. Glad he could sit down with us, but this has been another episode of the Vision Quest podcast. All of our episodes are brought to you by Appleton Tattoo, located at 117 South Appleton Street in Appleton, Wisconsin, right off the main drag on College Avenue. You can't miss them. I've had some work done. I have a Celtic cross that covers my back that was done by Jason. We're not done yet. Jason Winans and crew, the artists that he have there, those guys are the best in the Fox Valley. They are definitely one to go to if it's something that you've just been kind of throwing around. They'll make you feel comfortable. It's a very clean environment. Very nice crew, and very willing to get done whatever you need done when you need it done. You can message them on Facebook. I know they're on Facebook. You can give them a call at 920-604-8289 and get in touch with Jason Winans and crew at Appleton Tattoo, located again in Appleton, Wisconsin at 117 South Appleton Street, right in Appleton. Very flexible hours, great crew, clean environment again. I would not send you anywhere else except for these guys. Appleton Tattoo.